Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from today. We would like to welcome you to today's session of the Azure webinar series, Optimizing Your SAP Applications with Azure. Before we get started, we'd like to go over a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, we have subject matter experts with us today, and they will be answering your questions in real time. So we would like to encourage you to pop any questions you have into the window, and we will get to them as quickly as we can. In addition, on the top right-hand corner of your console, you're going to find some resources. Any URLs that are mentioned today can easily be accessed there. And finally, there's a survey on the bottom right-hand corner. We're hoping you will answer a few questions for us at the end of this to give us some feedback on today's session and tell us a little bit about yourself. We have two speakers with us today, Naga Surendan, Director of Product Marketing, and Jürgen Thomas, Principal PM Manager. Naga, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in today's webinar titled Optimizing Your SAP Applications with Azure. We understand that SAP's ERP is at the core of many of your business processes and is a mission-critical application for your enterprise. So in today's webinar, we'll go through how SAP and Microsoft Azure's unique partnership and capabilities can accelerate your digital transformation journey. As the moderator mentioned, my name is Naga Surendran. I'm part of the SAP on Azure team here at Microsoft. Joining me today is my colleague, Jürgen Thomas, and Jürgen is a principal PM in the Product and Customer Advisory team at Microsoft. So let's jump in and understand the drivers for running SAP on Azure. Now, digital transformation is top of mind for many of your businesses, and let's start talking about what is driving digital transformation and how you can embrace, adapt, and innovate with the power of Azure. Now, we are all familiar as consumers with the ubiquitous presence of smartphones, the rise of e-commerce, and disruption in all industries enabled by the cloud and AI. Business cycles are not only becoming faster, but competition is rising from different industries. Now, we see that businesses that adapt to this faster cycle are much more data-driven in meeting customer demands for personalization, faster service, and to grow in new markets. Now, in order to achieve this digital transformation, we know that customers that run SAP applications are looking for newer ways to engage with customers, optimize things like supply chain, or just accelerate innovation with newer products in newer markets. Now, what are some challenges with driving business transformation if you're currently running on-premises or in hosted environments? Now, we hear that many business processes in legacy SAP ERP systems, such as Business Suite, are still manual. For example, some of you might have staff dedicated to optimizing your supply chain or reconciling financial data between ERP and other systems. Now, current infrastructure on-premises or hosted is highly kind of pre-planned with 3 to 5 year planning cycles, and it's not built for today's fast-paced innovation cycles to launch and learn new application in days or just weeks. Now, finally, data sources are now varied, and it's no longer just in your ERP. Data can be unstructured from social web or newer applications such as IoT. And so IT organizations are being asked to deliver insights across the entire organization, which means you need to bridge these silos. We often hear customers tell us that to get to this type of insight requires hours of manual Excel wrangling or custom solutions that take long project cycles and a significantly high cost. Now, the solution is to adopt what SAP calls the new digital core, S/4HANA, the intelligent ERP from SAP, running on an agile cloud platform such as Azure to power your innovation and insights. Now, S/4HANA allows organizations such as yours to run live with analytics and transactions from the same system, as opposed to running batch processes. Now, to achieve this, SAP had to redesign the ERP on HANA database, as many of you might know, that runs 100% in memory. And in addition, they've really simplified the data model to enable all these new capabilities. Now, customers running S/4HANA on Azure can really accelerate their innovation with agile product cycles due to the on-demand infrastructure that Azure offers, where you can spin up and down infrastructure in just minutes, and also take advantages of the latest advances in AI and machine learning to automate business processes. And finally, by running SAP on Azure, you will have the ability to provide a unified view of your data across the enterprise by combining SAP and non-SAP data in the cloud. Now, before I hand it off to Jürgen, I want to share a little bit about the partnership that Microsoft and SAP have and how that's uniquely enabling this digital transformation. Now, many of you know Microsoft and SAP has had a long-standing partnership that started out in the late 90s, and we have, over the years, worked with Windows Server, enabling SAP applications on Windows Server and SQL Server. And in the last few years, we have certified SAP applications on Azure as well, including SAP HANA. Many of you might know the fact that we have a good set of common mutual customers. And so, as you can imagine, we have decades of experience working with mission-critical SAP applications. Now, not only that, Microsoft has also been a SAP customer for about 20-plus years for many of your core business processes, such as finance and supply chain. So we have a deep understanding of a SAP customer need as well. As of November last year, both of our CEOs renewed our partnership to offer SAP customers a trusted path to digital transformation. Now, what this means for you as a SAP customer is the following. Microsoft and SAP will jointly go to market with co-engineering and support for SAP solutions. Microsoft already runs 100% of our SAP landscape on Azure, and we have started our journey to S/4HANA as well. And SAP will run many of their internal business processes and systems on Azure. And as a result, Microsoft and SAP will jointly publish reference architectures to help customers transition to the cloud. And so you can see that we not only have a trusted partnership, but have a joint commitment to help accelerate your business transformation. Now, with that, let me turn it over to Jürgen to share more information on the product capabilities and architecture details and some nuggets of wisdom that Jürgen has gleaned from our customers that have gone through this journey already.
Thanks a lot, Naga. Thanks for handing over. Hello, folks, wherever you are, in which time zone you are. My name is Jürgen Thomas. I'm a program manager lead in Azure Customer Advisory Team. I'm working for Microsoft more than 22 years, and all those years spent in the SAP world with Microsoft. So, as Naga mentioned, there is a digital transformation on the business side happening, and the medium or the channel that SAP has for this digital transformation is S/4HANA. S/4HANA is a platform that is succeeding NetWeaver that runs exclusively on HANA. Now, your state currently is mostly you're completely on NetWeaver. SAP has clear dates published when they expect you as a customer, or we as a customer, because Microsoft's a customer as well, to be on the S/4HANA platform completely and off of the NetWeaver platform. That's your current state mostly. You might be already a little bit down the journey of S/4HANA, but with most of us, we are looking into complete NetWeaver landscapes of BW, SCM, Object Event Repository, ERP, you name it. And so you need, over the course of the next 7 years, we all need to get to the S/4HANA platform. We are a little bit between a rock and a hard place because it's not only a technical transition that we need to do here. This is also a transition of business processes. SAP in itself is not exactly always clear on how the business processes you're using today with, for example, Object Event Repository are ending up in S/4HANA. So there's a lot of unknowns still in that process. How you get to S/4HANA, what the systems would look like, how many systems you need, what the infrastructure is that you are going to need to make this journey. The other unsecure or the unknown to a degree is how long do you need to keep the NetWeaver-based systems around? That majorly influences your infrastructure investments. Or there is a lot of unknowns about your infrastructure investments because you don't know how many S/4HANA systems you need to strap up to go into the S/4HANA journey, and you don't know how often or how much hardware, how many pieces of certain hardware you're going to need to run your SAP NetWeaver in SAP NetWeaver applications. And that is the space where Azure fits in. That is the space where Azure can give you an infrastructure that is highly flexible, where you can run and create systems in no time for project systems, and as well abandon those systems again, where you can host your NetWeaver-based systems in and slightly slim them down as you transfer business processes out of your NetWeaver-based system in your S4HANA systems. You can adapt the hardware size, the infrastructure size, to the lesser workload that you encounter in NetWeaver. At the same token, you can increase the infrastructure used for the S4HANA systems in Azure adaptively as the workload on those S4HANA systems is increasing. As we look into the customer base and how the journey is of SAP customers into cloud, we do see a few different kind of themes in those. There is a lift and shift taking place. This is usually the NetWeaver part, where you decide, or we as customers decide, that our NetWeaver part should run in Azure as well. Makes sense, makes a lot of sense, since we don't know how long we would have those NetWeaver parts. Is it going to be staying there for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years? So we see a lot of customers moving their existing systems into Azure with conventional databases that are SQL Server, that are Oracle, that are DB2 on different operating systems that are supported on Azure mostly, or exclusively Windows and different Linux versions. We do see customers that do already a migration of some of their systems or to different databases. This could be a migration from a DB2, from an Oracle to SQL Server, but we also see in the line B that customers like, for example, with SAP BW, lift in and shift into the cloud, but at that point in time using DMO functionality of SAP to basically do a database migration into SAP HANA and run these BW systems that are still based on NetWeaver in HANA. And then we also have a part of customers that does run already on HANA, has BW for HANA in scale-out, for example, or do run S4 HANA already and move into cloud. That's Notion C. We see quite a few of them as well these days. These people, this is now the first generation of SAP customers where appliances after 3-4 years of usage are going out of service and out of maintenance, and where a decision point is reached where the customer needs to decide to invest again into on-premise hardware for S4 HANA or BW for HANA, or going into cloud. Now, the decision criteria or the conditions for such a decision majorly changed over the last 3-4 years. As 3-4 years ago, no public cloud was really able to handle a terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte virtual memory in virtual machines. This is the case today. So public cloud, and especially Azure, is a really, really viable alternative instead of investing into on-premises. And then we have transformations, that's line D, where customers basically do greenfield implementations, very often combined with the movement of A or B, because customers so decide to re-implement their business processes anew in S4HANA, and where you immediately start out in S4HANA, placed in Azure, because you can create development systems without no end, and you can shrink them down again. You can create project systems in no time for your project staff. So that's basically 3-4 notions that we see currently as pattern with our customers. Now, the SAP HANA-based infrastructure, or infrastructure that SAP HANA can use in Azure, we categorize in on-demand infrastructure that's usually native virtual machines. We do have a whole series of virtual machines that can be used especially for HANA with test and POCs that are less than half a terabyte. small VMs, less expensive. Certainly from a performance criteria, eventually not at the state where you want to take them into production. But then we also have, with our M-Series virtual machines, a family of virtual machines that are running on 4-socket hosts that start with 192 gigabyte and 32 virtual CPUs and go up to 4 terabyte and 128 virtual CPUs. If that is not enough, if you reach or if you are afraid that you need more than 4 terabyte, Azure has an offer here as well. We call it a purpose-built infrastructure, which is nothing else than a TDI-certified hardware stack that is integrated into Azure, where you can run your HANA database backends. And we offer up to close to 900 CPU threads and 24 terabyte RAM in a single unit there, so that you for sure can run your SAP HANA-based S/4HANA system or Business Suite or BW in Azure without having to deal with the fact that you eventually could exceed the limits that a virtual machine has. If you look a little bit deeper into the purpose into our hardware, into our infrastructure offer, we look into the on-demand infrastructure. As I mentioned, M-Series virtual machines. These are based on 4-socket servers of Intel i7 8890 processors of version 3. We have the host equipped with with around 4 terabyte of memory. The latency, all the storage latencies and KPIs that we need for running SAP HANA are fulfilled with that VM family. We are very, very aggressively rolling this the M-Series VM family out. We are already present in 10 different regions of Azure today, and we are in the process until the end of the year equipping another around 12 regions. We also are equipping different availability zones within one region with M-Series, so that you can have a lot of choices in terms of high availability configurations using M-Series, using it for SAP HANA, and for sure for other databases as well, like SQL Server or Oracle, to run your SAP Hybris and your SAP NetWeaver systems. There's a lot of there are incentives with reserved VM instances. It's a function, or that's an offer that we have on the Azure side, where you can reserve instances for up to 3 years to get you a lot of savings in the specific M-Series virtual machines. In terms of virtual machines, we do have different SLAs in terms of availability of single VMs, or single VMs or VM configurations that are configured in a high availability configuration. If you look at the pure single virtual machine, our SLA in Azure for M-Series, for other VM families that use our premium storage, are 99.9%. It's a pretty unique thing, offering single VM SLAs, availability SLAs. 99% is very often what customers deal with at home as well. Well, some customers need higher availabilities, and so we do have higher SLAs if you're using a so-called Azure Availability Set that at least foresees 2 virtual machines. Sure, for SAP then, you need to configure your databases across these 2 virtual machines in a high availability configuration. That can be with SAP HANA system replication. With SQL Server, that would be SQL Server Always On, or Oracle would be Oracle Data Guard. For the SAP single point of failure, means the central services, you would use a Windows cluster, or accordingly in Linux, a pacemaker cluster across 2 virtual machines to secure these single point of failures of message server and the NQ server, as well as setting up NQ replication services. VMSLAs of 99.99% you can achieve if you are using what we call in Azure availability zones. That's a new functionality that we are rolling out subsequently in the data centers. At this point in time, we have, I think, 4 data centers generally available with availability zones, with more to come. Availability zones, each zone in a region has independent power supply and network supply, so that power plant going offline is not jeopardizing the whole region. If you take the high availability configuration as I just described it, means HANA system replication, always on Oracle Data Guard, and instead of having these 2 VMs running in an availability set, having them across 2 availability zones, that will increase our SLA to 99.99 instead of 99.95. And as a last measure, we finally have disaster recovery, which we are offering, that you can define as you like it between different regions, where you can build out region pairs, like take Europe with Europe West and Europe North, or you go US East to US West, where you as well can use functionality like Azure Site Recovery Services or database functionality that I named already, like Always On Data Guard or HANA System Replication, to really build up a DR configuration across different regions in order to fulfill all the requirements that you have beyond the pure high availability, but also include disaster recovery capabilities to your deployment. Purpose-built infrastructure for SAP HANA. I mentioned already, this is a TDI certified, HANA TDI certified stack that's including compute, networking, and storage, and which is, from a networking point of view, integrated into Azure networking. It's meant to run your SAP HANA database backend only, whereas the application layer of SAP would run on traditional Azure virtual machines that then connect through the integration of that purpose-built infrastructure into Azure, communicate with that integration. So base at this point in time is the Intel Xeon processor i7 version 4. We do have different sizes of those units. A single scale-up unit can go up to 24 terabyte and 20 sockets. We do support scale-out configurations at this point in time, up to 60 terabyte and 16 nodes. We also have online backups available here in this configuration that are based on storage snapshots that allow you then to do backups like in seconds, but on the other hand, keep them around for 30 days and do very fast restores. We have 8 regions of Azure available with HANA large instances, as we call them as well, or that's the name for the purpose-built infrastructure that we usually use in documentation. We have 2 regions, US East and US West in the US. We have Western Europe and Northern Europe in the European Union. We have Australia, both regions that we have in Australia. We have HANA large instances as an offer, and we have Japan West and Japan East as an offer as well. As usual, these instances or these units are progressing as well. So we are now at a state where we look into more modern Intel processors to replace some of those units, so that we get into the Skylake processor generation of Intel as well, which will offer us more capabilities, especially in the scale-up space, but which also will provide more CPU power. As mentioned, fully TDI certified. We do have an SLA here as well for a so-called HA pair, which we are foreseeing that you as a customer use HANA system replication as an HA pair synchronously. so that you get a 99.99% availability of those units as well. But as mentioned, important to note here, these units, these purpose-built infrastructure for SAP HANA does run your HANA database backend only. Your virtual machines, the virtual machines in Azure are running the application layer of SAP. So if you look at such an architecture, it's a little bit represented here as well. You basically have your single point of failure of SAP AS Central Services that's running usually protected with an availability sets or across availability zones. Then you have your application servers that are instances that are running in multiple VMs. When we look at customer deployments, we see anything between 2 and 10 to 15 different virtual machines that are representing the application layer. And then you have the HANA large instance. You have the M-series VMs here in this case, where we protect using a pacemaker cluster of Linux, where we use HANA system replication, usually in a synchronous manner, so that an automatic failover takes place as one of the VM nodes might have an issue. Very important to note for M-series virtual machines, there is a so-called Azure Write Accelerator that we use for the HANA log volumes to really provide I/O latencies, especially for HANA log that are less than half a millisecond. And then from a disaster recovery, you see that on the lower end, we would go across into a different Azure region using HANA system replication as well, however, this time in an asynchronous manner. This type of architecture has been implemented quite a few times already. We feel very well about it. Customers are very happy with this type of architecture. And so it's a proven architecture on M-series that we represent or present here. As we look in HANA large instances, on the application layer, there is no real change. It's the same thing that you do on the application layer. You protect your central services again. Then you go and have your application layer in Azure Virtual Machines. The only difference is at this time is you have this purpose-built hardware, which is really hardware. You don't have a virtualization layer on those. You are installing SAP HANA on those units as you got it handed over. You have a predefined set of storage there that's 4 times the memory, and you can also add additional storage to it. And so within HANA large instances, you can build your HA pair, use HANA system replication in a synchronous manner as well as you did on the VM side as well. Would do on the VM side as well. Same technology is used here, Linux pacemaker framework to do the clustering, HANA system replication on the database side, usually using an automatic failover with it as well. Same is true for the disaster recovery. You can have in another region, another number of HANA large instance units that allow you to do HANA system replication in an asynchronous manner as well to do disaster recovery. Or you can as well, and this is a unique offer that we have here, use a functionality that's based on storage that we are providing, which is in a sense for free from a data transfer. We can use storage replication as well to do disaster recovery, to provide you disaster recovery capabilities into a different DR region. So both choices are possible at this point in time. We do have customers doing both. We started out with the storage replication more than 2.5 years ago with the first customers. Using HANA system replication for disaster recovery came in lately only. So most of the experiences we do have is around the storage replication in this case. So enterprise-grade SAP HANA environments for cloud, as we talked about, we do have this huge scale-up capabilities of up to 24 terabyte. This is really protecting you from falling over the edge or steadily being concerned, if my implementations into S4HANA, my business process implementations, create way more data than we ever expected. And now I'm sitting here on virtual machines that are limited to 4 terabyte. What happens then? Well, in Azure, that's no problem. What happens then is we have an offer for you. We can move you into HANA large instances, our purpose-built hardware, and you can go up to 24 terabyte without any issues. And so from that side, it's an awesome safety net for you. On the other hand, we have the scale-out capabilities with the HANA large instances as well. We can go up to 60 terabyte. You can do N+N configurations where you have 12 worker nodes, a master node, plus another 3 standby nodes, 2 standby nodes, whatever you are going to decide, whatever you are asking us to provision in these areas, you can get these configurations. And then again, the integrated backup and disaster recovery in these HANA large instances via the storage layer that we are using in the TDI certified hardware stack that enables you to you as a customer create storage snapshots on your own at your schedule. That also enables you to do disaster recovery exercises over to another region. You can do those for test purposes. You can do those for real. It's all under your control. Additionally to it, we offer automation especially for our VMs, for VM deployments. There are a number of GitHub templates out on that deploy SAP-centric VM infrastructure. Some of those templates allow you to define rough sizes of subs and automatically configure storage then for the different throughputs needed, choose a VM type. But kind of the pinnacle here is automation that we have on GitHub as well, that I have 2 screenshots here, that allow you to deploy HANA in an Azure VM. You have a lot of choices here. The automation that we developed was driven a lot by customer involvement, where you can basically select quite a few different possibilities here, define quite a bit of what you want in terms of virtual networks existing already, or they are getting created with the automation. These kinds of variations are all handled by the automation. You have a profound set of knobs that you can use. And then what's happening at the end of the day, the automation goes off, creates the infrastructure that you asked for, and is installing SAP HANA in that infrastructure, and all done within like 30, 40 minutes, so that you get an HANA installation in an easy manner without you going through the installation screens. We will further invest into that space a little bit in the future here. Well, typical example of a customer in that space is Daimler, where we basically run an S4HANA system on Azure. Very successful greenfield implementation of supplier relationship management. An awesome customer case here. The same true with the customer called Codes, using HANA large instances, and now looking into M-series deployments as well for their SAP systems, either BW, SCM, and now looking into S4HANA as well. Lift and shift of AnyDB, NetWeaver certifications, we do have up to we have them. Let's simply put them. When you think about NetWeaver, you can run it. You can run all the NetWeaver components in Azure on different operating systems. We need to remark that with Oracle, as a database, you are a little bit restricted to either Windows or Oracle Linux. Whereas with DB2, you can run, or MaxDB, you can run SUSE and Red Hat Linux as well. Business objects, we are very, very involved with them. Lately, we did a change again that unfortunately is not yet reflected in the slide. Business objects we can run on Linux, in SUSE Linux and Red Hat Linux as well in Azure meanwhile. So a lot of variety there. Content server, live cache, all these kinds of things can be run in Windows servers, SUSE, Red Hat, in Azure as well. So also when I look at the number of virtual machines that are certified for SAP or to run NetWeaver in Azure, we are looking at I think 25 to 30 different virtual machines in a variety from 2 CPUs and 7 gigabyte to like 128 CPUs to 4 terabyte. So there is really no gap, no hole, which could not be satisfied in terms of CPU and memory available. Super robust in effective infrastructure. What we usually see is the customers that deploy test and training systems in Azure do have quite some cost savings. Also simply by the fact that a customer does apply procedures not to run these things 7/24 hours. There is an incentive to change the model in how you operate, how you run those systems, as at times where you only need it. Disaster recovery, we do have as a service as well. Backup archiving, we do have different storage grades from warm storage to cold storage to archiving storage that you can use, especially when you think about huge number of backups that you keep for compliance reasons for 10, 15 years. You never need to restore anymore. We can really offer to store them to way lower cost than you can do that at home. And so also from a production side, from a variability of regions, I mean, we have 37 regions available with 99.95 SLA. These numbers steadily changing. I mean, meanwhile, I think we are at 48 regions that we have in production, and another, I don't know how many we announced, but quite a few. When you look at the architecture, it does not kind of vary that much from what we saw about HANA. Well, at the end, it's just databases. The application layer is always the same. So again, you have the availability set or availability zone deployment around the central instances. You have your application layer that is running in another availability set so that you are a little bit protected through forward and update domains in Azure. And then for high availability reasons, you take your 2 virtual machines, implement SQL Server or Oracle is there, or DB2, take the high availability measures that these platforms have to offer, which in SQL Server, as we have an example here, is always on. And then you have it running synchronously, and you are very well protected. Now, for disaster recovery, the same spiel again. You have a different region of your choice, and you would basically use database means again to really protect with asynchronous always on Oracle Data Guard or DB2 your disaster recovery. You can use Azure Site Recovery as well to replicate the SAP application layer. So from that side, you are having a very valid solution here. It is a given that for databases we use Azure Premium Storage, which is giving you way better latencies than the standard storage. You also can use with these databases the Azure Write Accelerator to get excellent less than half a millisecond write latencies on your log drives for your specific database or the redo log size. So very you see between HANA and NADB, there are no severe changes in your infrastructure. It's just virtual machines. You might need to size it differently for HANA because you need to keep the data in memory. You might be able to size it smaller for Oracle and in SQL Server, or you are able to size it smaller for Oracle and SQL Server usually, since that the complete data set is not kept in memory. We have customers with NADB that run 15 terabyte databases of SAP ERP databases of SQL Server here in virtual machines of Azure production ERP systems that run 4,000 or 5,000 users that run whole companies, for example, Microsoft's. Or, for example, Rio Tinto, a company that we brought into, where we moved the production landscape 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, into Azure, not even having M-Series at a point in time. Very successful implementation. And so, very successful story as well. So, I think I'm handing over to Naga now again for the last part of the slides.
Thanks, Jürgen. So, as you know, Jürgen just talked about how Azure provides a solid infrastructure foundation for all your SAP applications and workloads. Now, let's shift our attention to a little bit on the data side of things. How can you make meaningful data insights out of your SAP and non-SAP data? And we know many of our customers say that 50 to 60% of the data sits in non-SAP environments, and with newer applications like IoT sensor data. Now, Azure provides a rich set of data and analytics services that does just that. So you can use services such as Hadoop-based HD Insight for big data, or Power BI for visualization, and Azure Machine Learning services for analyzing and predictive models. And finally, you can take this all the way to your end users, either through web applications or mobile applications, or even chatbots and things like that, all inside of Azure in a single solution. Now, let's just take a look at sort of a customer use case that's doing just that. So I have Ben Kisser, who is a UK-based global consumer goods company. They have some of the popular brands such as Lysol and Clearasil and Strepsils. So they were struggling with arming their salespeople and marketers to make meaningful decisions with the data. And they know that a bunch of their data comes from like third-party data about market intelligence or consumer data. They needed to mesh that with their operational data that sits inside SAP. So they tried building this actually on a different cloud provider and realized that reporting and data solutions are not as good, or the security and intelligence capabilities are not as advanced as Azure is. So they actually, if you look at the architecture here, they use what is called Azure Data Factory to connect to SAP and non-SAP data for ingestion, and then combine it and store it in what we call Azure Data Lake Store, which can scale to petabytes of data easily. And from there, you run big data analysis using things like Databricks for Spark or HD Insight. And then finally, you can use SQL Data Warehouse to kind of make it more structured, and analysis services and deliver visualization with Power BI. And you can see that here in terms of the productivity boost and the ability to quickly make decisions that they have because of that. So if we go, this is, Jürgen covered a few customer use cases. We have a number of customers that is a growing momentum for us in terms of different industries, from retail to pharma to manufacturing to mining, oil and gas. We have SAP and Azure customers in production in 40-plus countries. For example, Penti is a retailer in Turkey that's running S/4HANA. Malaysia Airlines runs a large, massive SAP landscape in production. They migrated from legacy IBM hardware. Dairy Farmers of America migrated 17 of their data centers and reduced operating costs by 30%. So you can see customers of all sizes and some of the larger names running their production SAP workloads on Azure. Now, almost all of these implementations are done with one of our SAP certified partners in our partner ecosystem. And this is where our partner ecosystem comes into play. And we understand that when it comes to SAP, many of you are probably already working with a partner for either managed services, basis administration, or business processes as well. Now, whether it's one of our global SIs such as Accenture or TCS or Infosys, and many of the regional or national SI partners all over the world in terms of Workday or T-Systems or MSR Cosmos. So we have partners that can take care of migration, managed services, and business processes end-to-end. And so we have you covered in that area. So just to kind of wrap this up in terms of why Azure, we think of it as three takeaways for you. One is the deep partnership that is between SAP and Microsoft that's enabling this digital transformation. And it's Microsoft as a customer and SAP as a customer on Azure running internal systems. And we have some joint offerings as well in terms of managed services with HANA Enterprise Cloud. And if you look at sort of the HANA offering itself, we have by far the most scalable and powerful implementation in the public cloud, going up to 24 terabyte, as Jürgen mentioned, or 60 terabyte for your scale out with the enterprise-grade SLAs. And lastly, from a security and compliance, you can go to azure.com and learn more about it. We have 70+ industry compliance certifications, including tools for GDPR, which I know is top of mind for a lot of you. And on top of it, taking your data and meshing it with IoT and enabling digital transformation of data. And we've got you covered whether you want to run HANA now or just start with NetWeaver and enable your journey to HANA as well. So those three key takeaways on why a lot of our customers are already running their systems on Azure and why you can move as well today. So with that, I'll hand it back to the moderator.
All right, there's a couple of resources here available for you. I'd like to thank both of you, by the way, for the great presentation today. Lots of information to take in. So the resources are available on the top right-hand corner of your console, and then on the bottom right-hand corner, as I mentioned, there's going to be a quick survey. We do have a few additional minutes here, so what we're going to do is just stay online for a little bit here and try to get any of your questions that you are popping into that Q&A box answered. Thank you both, and we hope to see you at an upcoming webinar soon.